special guest, Kenneth O'Keefe. So I'm going to introduce him, and if you have any questions, um, please make sure to request up, let my mods know, and we'll bring you up. All right, so Ken O'Keefe is a U.S. Marine combat veteran of Operation Desert Storm in 1991 and a dedicated environmental, human rights, and anti-war activist known for bold, direct action. He produced the film The United States of Hypocrisy in 2001, highlighting the Hawaiian genocide, and led significant humanitarian efforts, including the Human Shield Action to Iraq in 2003, the Free Gaza Mission in 2008, which successfully sailed into Gaza, and the Road to Hope land convoy to Gaza in 2011. O'Keefe was a defender aboard the Mavi Marmara humanitarian aid ship in 2010, where IDF commandos killed 10 aid workers. He was awarded Palestinian citizenship and the key to the City of Gaza by Prime Minister Ismail Haniyeh in 2008 and 2011. A sought-after keynote speaker at universities and charitable events, he has appeared on BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera, Russia Today, Press TV, and other global media outlets. Welcome, Ken. I'm so honored to have you with us today.
Oh, thank you, and God bless all the good people out there doing the right thing.
I wanted, if we can start off, you were a former U.S. Marine who is now an outspoken anti-war activist. What was the moment or experience that changed your worldview, and how did your service in the Gulf War shape your understanding of U.S. foreign policy?
Well, I took my red pill when I was in the Marines, and it's important to note that I was young and dumb, and I did not know that I was joining a fighting force to become a mercenary for the banksters. That's the folly of youth for you. But one of the things that happens when you become a Marine is that you take an oath. And in that oath, you say that you will protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, that you will fight all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that you will follow the orders of the officers appointed over you, the commander-in-chief, according to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, so help me God. Now, the key part there, aside from so help me God, is that according to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, if you are given an unlawful order, your duty is not to follow it. Now, I was as good a Marine as was in the infantry. I carried the machine gun. If I had been put in a different war, I invariably would have killed many people. But by the grace of God, the war that I was in, Operation Desert Storm, they were all surrendering, or they were fleeing, or they were dead. So I never had to kill anybody, and I really thank God for that first and foremost. But I was given an unlawful order, and I was the only Marine in my unit who refused that order and exposed that order. And I went from being the most favored Marine in the highest position of authority to being a punished Marine, in fact, where the whole platoon was being punished because of me. And I had to deal with that crap for another 2 years, going off to a war with a man in charge of me who hated me. So by the time I came out of the Marine Corps 2 years later, I was a hard man with a chip on my shoulder. But there was one thing that I kept sight of, and that was my oath. I have been protecting and defending the Constitution of the United States for 35, 36 years now. I have worshiped the truth as if it were God, because truth is God and God is truth. And it was through the pursuit of truth that I really did find God, and that's my master up there. I answer to God and God alone. I do not answer to men nor leaders. I answer to God. And I listen to my heart, and that's the channel to God. And everything I've done, every good thing I've ever done, all praise to God for that. So that was the red pill. I took that red pill in the Marine Corps over 3 decades ago, and my life is an indication of that commitment ever since.
And you renounced your U.S. citizenship and set fire to your United States passport. What did that decision represent to you?
It's very simple. As a student of law, I've studied international law, humanitarian law, trade law, Magna Carta, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, common law. I've studied all these things. Citizenship is a social contract. Now, the thing is, in contract law, you cannot be bound by a contract unless you do so of your own free will and of your own consent. The thing is that when we're born, we become entered into a contract of a social contract. Now, what I realized seeing the crimes of America decades ago was that, listen, I do not agree to your contract. I've never paid federal income tax in my life, which is good karma for me. I certainly don't live in America nor the West because tax revenues are going, in a case of America and England in particular, but also the European Union, in fact, all of the West, those taxes that we're paying are facilitating, funding, and arming genocide. That does not work for me. So I burned my US passport to say, you know what, to the United States, and I'm not your tool. I do not consent. I condemn you on every level. So burning that passport, I didn't start that way. I renounced formally, and that's a whole process in itself. But when they refused to accept my renunciation and they gave me back my passport, then I burned that passport in Baghdad under occupied Iraq in 2004. And I even said back then with a sign behind me, it said, everybody was saying, support the troops, and putting a yellow ribbon on them and all that. I said, while I burned the passport and wrote a very vociferous statement condemning the United States, I said with the sign behind me, support your troops, bring them home now. Nope, they didn't listen to me, so the troops stayed in this war on terror lie, which was instigated by a Mossad operation known as 9/11. Greater Israel was commenced, and now, ever since, you've had 22 American service members a day committing suicide because of the trauma and the guilt they share for the slaughter that resulted in war crimes, crimes against humanity, torture, millions of refugees, millions of orphans, and I would argue about 2 million dead in Iraq, which still hasn't recovered. I want no part of it. You can take my name off it. And once again, I say to the United States and especially to the synagogue of Satan known as the Jewish state of Israel, who's actively committing genocide against my family, I want no part of it. And to be honest, I also know that I will answer to God one day, and I would prefer to make it up into the kingdom of heaven. And I don't care about popularity. I don't care what the average person thinks. I only care about what God thinks. And I have been blessed with some beautiful people, many beautiful people in my life that I call my friends, who love me and who respect me and whom I love and respect. These are the people that I associate with. And in this sense, I never feel alone, and I don't get depressed, and I sleep well at night, and I have peace of mind. But it's all because I refuse to submit to tyranny, nor allow myself to be a tool in the worst of crimes. Never mind the fact that God's going to judge us all, and hell sucks. I'd way rather go to heaven myself.
Wow. Period. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. Absolutely. I mean, I hope everybody heard his message loud and clear. Loud and clear. Um, you've been a strong advocate for Palestinian liberation. Why is this cause so central to your mission?
The Palestinians are the front line for humanity. They have largely been abandoned. Shame on all the Arab nations, barring Yemen. God bless you, Yemen. When Bashar al-Assad was in Syria, that nation was the most supportive of the Palestinians. Now they have a terrorist head of state who's embraced by the West, which is godless. And so Syria is in bed with Israel and inviting them in so they can commit these attacks against Iran. I will give praise to Iran, but I will question why Iran stopped their bombardment, because we all cheered when we saw the missiles raining down on Tel Aviv and Haifa, but then they stopped for some reason. They have allowed this monstrosity to continue to rearm at the behest of the United States and the taxpayers who pay for all these bombs. We still are in the midst of what I would call the end times. It is the end times. Israel would wish to create the Greater Israel Project. I've talked about this for decades, including Odi Dinan's strategy for Israel in the 1980s. All of these policies we've seen in the Middle East with the actual extermination of the only noble leaders, including Bashar al-Assad, although I'm going to put the highest Arab leader as Muammar Gaddafi, who would have liberated all of Africa by now with the African gold dinar. He liberated his people. He was a hero in the Western world, in the Arab world. And well, we all know what happened to Muammar Gaddafi. It would seem as if the only way to show your greatest love for God, of the Father, is to become a martyr, which makes me actually question, like, shoot, I was dead. I was clinically dead, by the way. I was poisoned by Mossad. I went to one of the worst prisons in the world.
Oh my gosh.
I was brain damaged. I was forgetting where I was in my own neighborhood. Like, what am I doing? Where am I going? The only thing that I didn't ever forget who I was, but I've been through a lot, but I'm still here. And I reckon, I know actually, I've still got more work to do, including writing my book, which I really need to do. I've still got work to do. And when my work is done, God will take me. And if I am so blessed, then I will enter the kingdom of heaven. And I know I will be seeing a bunch of people up there who a lot of people are bearing false witness against. But I'll write more about that in my book.
Wow. Could you kind of elaborate how that could have, how did that happen, if you don't mind me asking about, Mossad reaching you, um, and doing that?
Well, the year was 2016. Like, literally, I have to write a book because I'll summarize it the best way possible. But I had broken up with my last girlfriend 7 years ago. And I'm not the kind of guy who's going to sit there and cry himself to bed at night. So I know if I'm feeling heartbroken that I need to kind of change environment, focus on something seriously. So I went to Thailand, not for the reason so many people go to Thailand. I went there for the Muay Thai training. And I had the money at the time because my mom had passed on and I had invested and I had some money. So I was getting private instruction from a former world champion in Muay Thai, and I was training every other day privately with him, and I was loving it. I've always been a fighter, but I was learning like real stuff, like even more stuff to complement the other martial arts that I've practiced. And one day I got invited to a party, and it was a DJ, and I liked his music, and I liked to dance. So I thought, okay, I'm going to give myself a day off, and I went to this party, and I allowed myself 2 drinks. The first drink went fine. The second drink, I'm sitting at a pool bar, and I'm sitting on a high bar stool that I had to actually step up to. It had no back on it. I took the second drink, and when I took that drink, and there was a gentleman behind me eating a meal, like a couple of feet behind me. I took the drink. I did not feel anything. All that happened to me was boom, I went out like that. Like, I took the drink, boom, I went out. Fell backwards, banged my head with all of my weight behind me onto the concrete. And this guy who was, which I have on videotape, I have this guy who was there. I have him now. I just got this like a month ago in Thailand. He literally, he heard my head. He saw me fall to the ground, and he watched me as I went from a tanned, fit guy to, I turned white. And then he said he saw me turn blue. And he saw me that I wasn't breathing, and he realized, somebody said he's choking on his tongue. So he put a spoon in my mouth, and he took my tongue out of my throat to try and open up the airway, but I still wasn't breathing. They checked my pulse. I had no pulse. He said he watched me turn blue. So now I'm blue, on the ground, dead, not breathing, no pulse. And a Hawaiian. You mentioned that I made this film, The United States of Hypocrisy, which took me 9 months to make, and I did it all for free, and all the money that was derived from it was given to the Hawaiian kingdom. A Hawaiian in Thailand was the one guy who knew CPR. He gave me CPR, and I came back. I came back, apparently with a huge smile on my face. I did not see the white light, but I have multiple witnesses who saw me dead on the ground, blue. And when I came to, I went to the hospital. I agreed, like, okay, yeah, I do need to go to the hospital for that. And they didn't have the equipment, so I had to get sent to another place in Krabi, Thailand, where they had a bigger hospital where I could do CT scans. They did a CT scan, and it established major brain trauma, major brain trauma. It was so bad that my life was terribly at risk at that point. They did another one just to try and verify, like, because you could die any second. Your brain can swell. All sorts of stuff can happen. They did a second one. It verified the results of the first one. They put an IV on me and hydrated me. And then I checked myself after 2 days. I checked myself out, and they were like, no, you can't leave. You can't leave. Your life is in danger. And the reason why I was checking out was I knew like my enemies could get into that hospital and just one person could get something in me and boom, I'd be dead. So I felt safer getting out. I got out after signing the document saying that I'm a crazy bastard and I really need to stay here. I went back to the hostel on the beach, proceeded to drink coconut water and hydrate. I completely lost my appetite. Food became repulsive to me. I was having blackout spells and had to get on the ground. And I was doing my best to heal. And then the Thai police came 26 days later. I didn't fly back to England because it was beyond stupid for me to get on a pressurized cabin long haul flight while I'm blacking out. This is like, I should have been in the hospital, not doing a long haul flight. Anyway, 26 days later, the Thai police came up to me. They said, Kenneth O'Keefe? I said, yes. They said, come with us. You're under arrest. I said, what? And they said, you're under arrest. And I said, why? And they wouldn't tell me. And they didn't want to bribe. They were under orders. I know that. They took me to one jail, and then I was transferred to another jail. And then I was transferred to one of the worst prisons in the world, which is Bang Kwang Prison in Bangkok. It's otherwise known as the Bangkok Hilton. For those that don't know, you Google it. Google Bangkok Hilton. You'll see. The average sentence in that prison is 25 years. They have murderers, they have rapists, they have drug traffickers. I found out after spending 3 months in this prison, I didn't eat for 46 days. I saw 2 people killed in that prison. I was tortured myself. I was beaten. I was shackled. But I somehow managed to make a lot of friends, derive a lot of stories. I survived, and my attorney, Dr. Dobler, God bless him, he got me out with the help of Rudy Dent, a 9/11 fireman who is a hero and a dear friend of mine. And I got out of that prison after one hell of a ride. And, I have had this crazy, crazy, crazy life. And my experience is if it don't kill you, it makes you stronger. I'm a strong son of a bitch, and I ain't backing down to nobody. I don't care what the cost is. So, yeah, that was my Bangkok Hilton story.
Right, period. And you know what? You have a purpose and you have a mission, and there's a reason for you to be here. And God loves you, and we're so honored to have you, here to tell your story. Um, wow, I can't even imagine what you must have experienced and went through. I mean, just hearing it is heavy. But I wanted to kind of focus on the picture that I had on my flyer with Ismail Haniyeh. May he rest in peace. Could you tell us about your visit with him and many other of the Hamas members?
Yeah, yeah. God bless Ismail. Love that man. And, because I had done so much for Palestine, captaining boats and defending the Mavi Marmara and then leading the land convoy, it was when I got that, and that was a miracle. That's a book in itself, that whole story. Um, I met him in Gaza, actually several times. I met him. One time he invited me to his home. He lived in a refugee camp, a tiny little shoebox, modest place in a refugee camp. I met his family. They served me tea, and I met his children and others. By the way, before they martyred Ismail in Iran, 65 members of his family had been murdered because they were his family members. Even my family has been threatened. My children have been threatened to the mother, and a very credible threat. So all of us, every Palestinian I've ever met, all of them who were fighters and whatnot, they had been in prison. Every single one of them has been tortured, and many of them are raped. Many of them are children. Remember Yahya Sinwar, God bless him. God bless him, fighting to the bitter end. Yahya Sinwar, I may have met him, but I cannot recall because he just got out of many years of prison when I was there in 2011, getting the key to the City of Gaza. And also, Ismail awarded me a VIP Palestinian passport, which the Israelis stole after the Mavi Marmara. So I don't have it. I have pictures of it now. But yeah, Ismail Haniyeh was a most beautiful man. But I've also met all sorts of warriors in Gaza, in the West Bank. I admire them all, and they're all doing what I would do.
How long did you stay in Gaza?
So I've been to Gaza 4 different times, and I've lived there a total of about a year when you add it all up. And I've been there in various ways: land convoy, the sailing into Gaza. I've also come through a tunnel, which I'm telling you, if you were claustrophobic, you would have been scared shitless in that tunnel. It was dangerous. It was not reinforced. Our guide went ahead of us, and we had no torch or light. I hadn't eaten for 10 days, and I was dragging my suitcase, crouched down, coming, pulling through this tunnel. And for those who've heard the phrase, I see the light at the end of the tunnel, I'll tell you what, that tunnel was about 2 kilometers long. We really didn't know if we were going to make it. I brought a friend with me, and I literally said to him in the middle of it, "You having fun, mate?" "Yeah, I want to go with you. I want to go with Ken to Gaza. Yeah, you having fun?" And when I finally saw that light at the end of the tunnel, it was like, oh, oh, thank God. Oh my God. When I got through that tunnel, it was something else, you know. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, and I'm the kind of guy that, you know, I would say to all the people out there, comfort is the real enemy. Seek discomfort. Put yourself into difficult situations. Push yourself. Push yourself. Push yourself to the point of the brink of breaking. And by doing this, you will become stronger mentally, physically, and spiritually. And this has been one of my blessings, whether it's scuba diving, free diving, activism. I've done it all, man. I've done all sorts of stuff. Some of this stuff was highly illegal, destroying property that's being used to destroy life. That's my younger years. But I've never hurt anybody. I've never been violent towards anybody other than those who wanted to fight with me, and then I fought them. But even then, when I get the better of somebody, I don't keep going. You know, I let up then. Once I've taught them a lesson, you know, I don't wish no harm nor foul to anybody. But if I feel like somebody wants to kill me, I'll be damned before I lay down. I'm going to kill you first, you son of a bitch. And, you know, this is the right of self-defense. And that is exactly what the Palestinians are doing. This is a natural law. This is God's law. If someone is coming in and killing your family, or in the case of Americans, look at that. You are the mecca of sex slavery. America, my birth nation, which has 2% Jewish population, bit of a coincidence that it's the highest population of Jews in the world is in America, aside from Israel. And actually, it's America now. And they have the highest sex slavery, including child sex slavery. Meanwhile, everybody's fixated on cheap gas, Walmart, and a 3-car garage. Yet you guys are housing, financing, and facilitating the traitors who are inside the gate. And what do? The best you can do is bitch about it, or put your stock in Donald Trump, who was best buddies with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm sorry, man. I want no part of that madness. You can take it and shove it where the sun don't shine. I'll be damned before I submit to any of that. Or England, or the West, or any of them.
Wow. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but the motivation, and I hope everybody hears this, that we need to keep pushing, and that's the main thing, is continuing to push. Um, I want to focus on the Marmara, and if you can tell us, when you were aboard the Mavi Marmara during the Gaza Freedom Flotilla in 2010, could you describe what happened on that ship, and what did you learn from facing Israeli commandos and witnessing that violence firsthand?
Okay, I had a plan called Aloha Palestine, which I was arguing. I listened to the Palestinians when I got there in 2008 and then 2009, and what they told me was that they didn't want aid. They wanted the right to travel, freedom to travel, and they wanted to be able to trade, to import and export, so they could develop their economy. Everybody's been fixated on aid, and I developed this thing called Aloha Palestine. Jeremy Corbyn supported it. Tony Benn, an icon of peace, supported it. I have a beautiful video. People could go see it on my YouTube channel. Unfortunately, they came after me. The Jews came after me in all sorts of forums. I did get a lot of support, but I've tried, and I've never been able to put it together. But so I wasn't even going to go on the Mavi Marmara, but I decided at the last minute, like, I got to go on this, man. It's too big. And so at the last second, I told a mate who I knew was going, like, hey, I want to go. everybody was getting vetted. It took months. If you wanted to get on the Mavi Marmara, you couldn't just say, I want to go. You literally, like, it was a very VIP, only approved people were able to go. But because they knew the work I had done and they knew that I was an ex-Marine, they immediately allowed me to do it. So I flew down to Turkey. I joined the ship in southern Turkey. And then as we traveled off towards Cyprus, it was a beautiful environment. There were people from around the world, mostly Turks, but other internationals. There was Jews, Muslims, and Christians on there, mostly Muslims. And it was a beautiful environment, men and women, all of us united for a purpose of breaking that blockade. And it was a real privilege and an honor and a blessing to be there. As we left Cyprus and then we're heading to Gaza in international waters, it was the middle of the night and we could see on our radar that the Israeli Navy had surrounded us. They were clearly closing in on us. And what the Israelis did was they timed it to the morning prayer. So it was like 4 a.m. and everybody's going, call to prayer. So they're going and they're in prayer. And boom, that's when they attacked. Now, I had been asked when I first arrived, because I had cameras and a MacBook Pro and the ability, I've made documentaries, and they asked me, would you like to document what's going to happen or would you prefer to defend the ship? And I said, well, we've got media and people with better equipment than me and are professionals at that. So I think it's clear I would be more valuable defending. So they said, okay. And they put me on a team at the back portion of the ship, the aft portion of the ship on the main deck. And I was a part of a 6-person team. I was put second in command, and our job was to cover that area of the ship. Now, when the attack occurred, what they did was they came with helicopters and they had snipers with laser-guided rifles. So they were firing from the helicopters onto the ship. They were using percussion grenades, live rounds, and they were also using paintball rounds, which was really just to be able to say, oh, we used paintballs and only when we had to. So it was just part of a manipulation effort to be able to say that we used paintball guns. What they first did was they came with Zodiacs. Zodiacs are rubber inflatables with a rigid hull, and they're very fast and maneuverable. They came with those to the side of the boat, and they were firing percussion grenades, and then they were throwing up grappling hooks, which allows you to grab onto the rail of the ship, and then it has a ladder, and then they were trying to pull themselves up. We were easily able to repel that. When they threw the hook up, we could unhook it and fly it back. And the Israelis, the commandos, some of them tried to get on the ladder, but again, they weren't able to make it up. So we were able to repel that. But then the same helicopters that were firing and starting to shoot people all over, dozens were shot and 10 ultimately were killed, 9 on the night, another one later from a coma, from a headshot. He never recovered. He never came to. They had to turn off life support. Then the Black Hawk helicopter came over the top deck at the highest point, whereas the one area where they could really come down with the greatest effectiveness. Now, keep in mind, I'm a Marine and I've done what the commandos were doing. It's called fast roping. So you have gloves on your hands, thick gloves, and you have a rope that's like this thick, and you throw that rope down from the bottom hatch of the helicopter onto the deck so that you can descend 20, 30, even 40 feet from a helicopter. Now, the beauty of a fast rope for this kind of military assault is that you're not hooked onto it. You only have your hands to hold on here, and then you have your boots and your feet that you also wrap around the rope. So you can grab the rope, you slide down, and when you get down to the deck, you can release, and immediately you can start firing with a shoulder holstered submachine gun. They also had 9mm pistols shouldered to their hip, holstered to their hip. Now, when I saw that happen, to the credit of the defenders, it was brilliant. They sent the first line rope down, and the brothers at the top deck, they pulled it over to the side and attached it to the ship. So instead of the rope going straight down, it was going at an angle. You can't slide down that. You're just going to fall and break your legs on the deck. So they had to let that rope go. And so they put another rope down. And this time they were able to start getting the commandos down. And I saw it. We weren't having a problem repelling them from the boats. But these guys, commandos, started coming down. They increased the fire as this was happening. So they were shooting at the guys at the top from the helicopter. And then as the commandos came down, they were immediately using submachine guns to mow down those guys. Now, at that point, I asked my team leader, like, look, we've got this area covered. Do you mind? They need help up there. And he said, yeah, go ahead. And so I went from that deck, I went up another deck, and then from that deck, I had a hatch to get into where there was a stairwell for me to get up to the top. Now, as I was coming into that hatch to try and get up to the top, one of the Israeli commandos was pushed over the top deck, and he fell about 8 feet down onto the deck in front of me. Now, this first commando was a bit discombobulated, and I saw him as soon as it happened. By the grace of God, the timing was perfect. And I immediately descended upon him. He did not have his submachine gun anymore, but he had his 9mm pistol. I immediately grabbed his pistol, took it into my possession, and another brother from inside the ship, our other brothers, grabbed him and they pulled him inside the ship. So that's one commando that was disarmed at that point. I had the 9mm pistol in my hand. I knew this was evidence, and I had already come across one dead body. Before I got up there, I saw a man on the ground, and I didn't know he was dead. A lot of people don't know, but bullet wounds, it's not like Hollywood. When you get shot, it can make a very small hole, and if the bullet gets lodged inside of you, then you won't even see an exit point. Where you see a big mess is where a bullet enters, and then it might come out the back of your head, and then you'll have a big hole, and you'll get blood and guts and brains and all that. So I got down on the ground and was like checking this man's pulse, and then another brother came over to me and pointed to a bullet hole right in the center between his eyes. So he had been sniped. This man was a photographer. So at that point, I'd already come across one dead body. I managed to disarm that commando. I kept that weapon, and I took the rounds out of the weapon. They were live rounds. They were real rounds. I gave the bullets to some people, and I hid the weapon, hoping that we would still be able to avoid their assault and carry on to Gaza. Now, as I did that, I actually took fire like that. I could see the laser guided round around me, and then I heard a couple of ricochets next to me, and I'm like, dude, Ken, get the fuck down. And I started being a Marine proper and like avoiding the fire that was coming down for me. I got rid of the rounds, I hid the weapon, and then I was proceeding to go back up to the top deck like I've tried the first time. And when I was going to do that again, on the other side, but the same place, the same hatch to the same cabin, but on the other side, the same thing happened again. Another commando who had his submachine gun shoulder holstered, he got pushed over. Again, I saw him in front of me. Again, this is like divine stuff, the timing of this. And I have witnesses. An Al Jazeera reporter actually filmed me disarming one of these guys. Literally, he filmed it. But the Israelis stole all that footage, so they ain't gonna let that be released. That'll make me a mega hero if that were ever released. No way are they gonna show that. The second commando, he was fully alert. He had his submachine gun and he had his 9mm pistol. He saw me, I saw him, and I immediately pounced on him, and he was literally getting his left hand on the stock and his right hand on the trigger. He was getting his hand on the trigger, getting ready to swing it to me, and I got to him just in time. I was able to grab his two hands before he was able to get it towards me and pull the trigger. I pried his hands off of the weapon, and then another brother came from inside trying to help me, and he was trying to get the weapon, and I was telling him, get it off his shoulder. Pull the strap off his shoulder. He took my direction. He managed to get that shoulder strap over his head, and he pulled the weapon away. And then I mounted this commando, and literally at this point I was upset. There were many dead bodies. Many people had been shot. One man died in the arms of his wife, literally bled out with saying his shahada and getting some love from his wife. This commando, if you look at the pictures which they've tried to erase, you'll find one commando who has a bruise under his right eye. That is a right straight. Boom. I gave him a right straight right here, and he has a bruise there. So that was the one little thing that I did. And after I punched him, the other brothers took him inside. So that's 2 Israeli commandos. We managed to disarm 3. And then the captain gave the order. He said, stop resisting, stop resisting. They've taken over the bridge. I'm a captain, so I know if the captain gives an order, you need to follow it. So I stopped resisting and I proceeded to go inside the ship. And so getting back to, what was my experience with them, I made a point. The 3 Israeli commandos, they were standing inside the ship, surrounded easily by 100 men. And when I got in there, I took my opportunity to go and stand, like literally, I went and stood right in front of each one of them. And I looked right into their eyes, right in their face, like literally 6 inches away. And I looked into their eyes, and what I saw was little frightened children. And they have no God either. Because if you're serving God and you're on the verge of martyrdom, you will embrace it. You will know that you are going to the kingdom of heaven. If you have been a warrior of God and you've been on the side of God, you're not going to be worried like these guys were, because they don't have God. And they thought we were going to kill them as they were murdering us. But because we're not the murderers, I looked into all 3 of their eyes and I saw the same thing. And I wrote something about this later. The command, I was not a strategic leader of that mission, so it wasn't up to me. I might have done it differently, but the bottom line was the order was given down to let them go. And they basically jumped into the water and were rescued by the other Israelis. I spoke about this on Hard Talk. I said, those Israeli commandos owe their lives to us. They will feel the embrace of their loved ones again, the sunshine on the skin, because we let them go. Those are the exact words I used in that BBC Hard Talk interview. And that was the experience. And, there was a whole lot more after that. Getting off the ship, they knew who I was, and I had more than one experience. And by the grace of God, I'm still here. But literally, I have stories from, I was the last one in Israel. Everybody else was gone, and I was the last one there. And for the people who might have seen it, there's pictures of me where my entire face is bloodied, and I've got blood all over me from the martyrs and from my own blood. And I literally flew from Israel, the last man, full of blood, on a first-class seat ticket of Turkish Airlines from Ben Gurion Airport to Istanbul. And everybody who came on that plane who was flying to Turkey, they walked past me with all this blood on my face. I'm stinky. I haven't showered for several days. I've got the blood of the martyrs. I've got my blood and just this ridiculous bloody face. And I remember laughing to myself as everybody's coming on. Like, have you ever been on a plane where you saw somebody in first class looking like me? It was truly comical and also very tragic. God bless the martyrs of the Mavi Marmara. Really, God bless them. They are heroes to humanity. I'm quite sure that they'll be sitting up there in the kingdom of heaven as God's warriors. I only wish that we would have kept on going. There is a boat heading there now with Huwaida Araf, who I was with her on the Free Gaza Mission, where we made it successfully. The chances that Huwaida and the crew going now of making it are very slim, if not almost zero. But God bless them for trying. More of us should have been trying. We should have been putting more pressure on, doing more, risking more. For all the ones who've done stuff and really supported Palestine in meaningful ways, God bless you. God bless you. But I know that we haven't done as much as we coulda, shoulda, woulda. And, I don't want to be in that. Even now, I want to go. Like, if they would give me my M249 squad automatic machine gun like I had in the Marine Corps and a legitimate fighting force, I would easily go into Gaza right now. And if that opportunity avails, you can bank on me going. This is the way to be, in the trenches. Die with your boots on. Be a warrior for God. Put yourself in uncomfortable positions. This is what will define your legacy as a man. And boy, oh boy, do we need more men in this world.
Oh, absolutely. And that was kind of you're kind of elaborating on my final question of, do you believe nonviolent resistance is enough in the face of military occupation with this Israeli Zionist regime?
Okay. In Palestine, absolutely not. Nonviolent resistance. I was in Gaza at the Great March of Return in 2011. Although there were other foreigners there, none of those foreigners went up to Eretz Crossing, right there on the front line with Israeli snipers up on the wall, shooting dozens of people dead that day. I saw several people right next to me shot dead. I filmed it. I filmed myself while bullets are ringing by. You can hear the bullets. There was nobody armed on the Palestinian side, and yet there were, I believe, 17 martyrs that day, dozens of others shot dead. So in Palestine, in Syria, in places like this, in Iraq, when we invaded, no, nonviolence is not an option. But in the West, I have always stood for nonviolent direct action, but that does not mean like Palestine Action in England now has just been prescribed. They're in the same company of Al Qaeda as a prescribed organization. They are destroying property that is being used to destroy life and commit genocide. This is something that we should be doing. Going to protests and signing petitions is not enough. It's actually a really weak stance and like a social gathering, quite frankly. I'm not saying that it has no point, but that's the bare minimum going to a protest. Do not pat yourself on the back because you go to a protest. There's more that you can do, more that we must do. Now, in terms of what I really want and what I've stood for, it goes back to my oath. There are solutions that are lawful and peaceful. It's called due process of law. Genocide is an international crime. And also mass murder, torture, rape, all of that are crimes. Treason, according to my birth nation, is a hangable offense. How many AIPAC-controlled servants to the Jewish state of Israel protecting Jeffrey Epstein and the children rapers do we need to see treason in our midst? Now, if the law were applied that I swore an oath to, these people would be charged, prosecuted, convicted, found guilty, and hung according to law. Is that me calling for violence? No, that's me calling for lawful justice. And if there's no consequence for child rapers or for treason, well, I suppose that's exactly why we have this world. We have other options, but they play right into our enemy's hands, like revolution. Revolution means you just revolve around and around and around and around. We need what's known as a paradigm shift, a whole different way to approach the world. No longer being willing to vote for the lesser of two evils. I've never voted for that. That's not acceptable to me. I need a man or a woman, at least, of honor, and you give me a couple of candidates with honor and I'll pick between which one I feel is the most honorable and has the most credibility and the best integrity. But we don't have that. We have a bunch of treasonous traitors that are literally facilitating child rape, and we vote for this stuff and consent to that system and validate that system. This is ridiculous. There are lawful ways to rebel and to affect the paradigm shift. That is what I'm fighting for, and that's why I need to write my book.
Well, whenever it comes out, I hope you write it very soon because I will be one of the first people to purchase that. And I think everyone here, there's 300 plus people here that would also want to read that as well. I'm done with my questions, but I did want to actually end with this. If you can, we're witnessing this genocide the past 2 years happening. What are your feelings and what do you see moving forward for Palestine and for Gaza, and what keeps you hopeful and to push forward?
You know, I've been so blessed. I've studied, and I have had the company of some of the greatest people. I want to put a big shout out to Sheikh Imran Hussein. Sheikh Hussein has been a great mentor to me. I've read several of his books. And as a result of that, I'm very, very well versed in epistemology, especially Islamic prophecy. And according to Islamic prophecy, which is very much in agreement with real Christian prophecy, both Muslims and Christians agree that the Messiah, that Jesus, the Son of God, born of the Virgin Mary, that he is coming back. And according to Islamic prophecy, Jesus will be coming back on the wings of angels in Syria, that the false Messiah will be presented. The false Messiah is coming. When he comes, claiming to be the Savior of the earth, he will be the false Messiah. He will indeed be the Antichrist. And I have prayed to God that I will be so blessed as to fight by the side of Jesus when he then slays the Antichrist, the false Messiah, and that Jesus with an army will march into Jerusalem, and Jerusalem will extricate the synagogue of Satan, which Jesus called the synagogue of Satan way back when, and that the Holy Land will be liberated and finally open. It will be holy again for Muslims, Christians, and proper Jews who follow the original word, which does not allow for usury. We must end usury. Usury. If you're a Christian or a Muslim and you are involved in usury, according to Islam, this is the worst crime that you can commit. Fact check me. That's the worst crime. It's usury and the debt of the banksters, which is the Jewish gang that has indebted and enslaved humanity for millennia. And it's why they get kicked out of every place they go, because they're parasites and they enslave all of us through the control of the money and the materialism and the fame and all the things that Satan can provide. So I see Jesus returning. I pray that I will be so blessed as to fight with Jesus. But I know one thing for sure. Only the good die young, and I've lived long enough to where I must die at some point. I know it's coming. I am going to die with my boots on. So however it plays out, that's what I see myself doing. But I think that those of us who fight in this great grand fight in end times, many of us are going to die, but that is a noble death. Seek a noble death more than coveting your material life. That would be my advice.
Thank you so much, Ken. That is going to be the end of my questions. I'm going to allow a few of the panelists to each ask a question as well. Amazing, amazing. What an honor it is to have you and to be able to listen to your experience and to your stories. And very honored to have you with us. Let me give a chance for Linda to go with her question. Go ahead, Linda.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Hi, Ken. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for sharing your story with us. You are very much an inspiration in too many ways. You already sound like a Palestinian. We always say that we'd rather be unalived on our feet than on our knees, which is the honorary way to go. So you were quoted in the past agreeing with Henry Kissinger and the CIA when they predicted that Israel will no longer be by around the year 2027. What signs, if any, indicate that Israel's on the brink of collapse, in your opinion? And what do you think is the likelihood of them using the Samson option?
Brilliant question. And yes, I agreed with them then, and I'd say the timeline is correct. If anything, they might have projected a little bit later, because I see Israel being no more in the next year. But 2 years is they could be dead on. They could easily be dead on with 2027. If we still have a Jewish state of Israel in 2 years, then this is part of prophecy that says Pax Britannica will be replaced by Pax Americana, and Pax Americana, which is imploding right now, will be replaced by Pax Judaica, and that they will build their third temple with their red heifer, and that they will start their sacrifices, which are rivers of blood, like they were in the time of Jesus. And I do see that the Samson option, I think that what our task should be to avoid the Samson option is that enough of the people of God, Muslims and Christians in particular, that we come together. And this is one of my major objectives, is to build that bridge between Christianity and Islam. We both serve God. And if we do this, I do believe that divine intervention, such as the times of Moses and the parting of the Red Sea, I do believe that God will divinely intervene. I do not see any future for the West, which is godless and manipulated and facilitating all the worst of crimes. The Samson option, if it happens, and we do enough, then I believe divine intervention, that God will be like Neo in The Matrix. Remember when he came back from the dead and the agents fired their bullets, and Neo slows down the bullets and looks at the bullet and picks it up, and then he drops it uselessly. I'd love to see God do the same thing with their Samson option. And I look forward to all of them going straight where they belong, which is to hell. First class ticket to hell. And in the better world, that's what I'm fighting for. This is not acceptable. I don't care if I have money, and I don't, but if I did and I could hand over a beautiful home and everything to my own children, that's not enough for me. I want a better world. I want my children to be liberated. I want future generations to exist. And if we do what we're capable of doing, that is going to be the world that we will hand down to our children. And it'll be the greatest honor of any generation if we do that. So I do believe prophecy is going to happen. There is going to be a golden age, but there's going to be a hell of a lot of death and probably a lot of nukes. And we're talking about tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people dying in that process. So I would very much say to everybody, the most precious thing you have is not the physical, it's the spirit and the soul in there. Start praying, start finding God, and start being the most noble servant you can be, and ultimately protect yourself and pass this on to your children to protect your children. Really, go to church, follow God, and be a servant. This is more important than your life, far more important.
And
Thank you, sister.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you so much, Ken. We'll go next to engineer.
Hi, Ken. It's an honor to meet you. I have a question. I believe you've met Vittorio Arrigoni.
Ah, Vittorio. I love
Yes,
Vittorio.
yes.
Yes.
So, like, I used to live in his area in Italy. I met people who know him personally, and I read his book and I watched all his videos. He's such an amazing guy. So I wanted to ask you if you can tell us anything about him or what you think about him. Thank you.
Yeah. Vittorio, for those that don't know, big, beautiful, strong, handsome man he was on the Free Gaza Mission. So he was part of my crew. He was my most reliable crew member. I'm a captain, so I'm in charge, right? I could rely on Vittorio. We hit it off thick as thieves when we met. We made it into Gaza. I had to leave Gaza. He stayed behind, and I almost missed the birth of my first child. I missed the birth of my second child because I was in Gaza. But I left. He stayed, and he used to ride in ambulances back when they were firing on ambulances. So he was like a human shield in the same context that I had created for the Human Shield Action to try and defend the Palestinians, including the Red Crescent workers and ambulances, as we've seen them getting shot dead and buried alive and all that kind of stuff. So he was doing that. He also knew the Samuni family, who I became very close to, along with others. Everybody in Gaza loved Vittorio. And he was like one of my absolute best mates ever, because unlike most men have insecurities and jealousies. And Vittorio had none of that. He was such a strong, handsome, charismatic man, and that's why we loved each other. Like, he was not threatened or insecure with me, nor was I. I relished in the beauty of his presence and the love that he evoked out of people, and I saw the smiles he brought to the faces of everybody. And he used to sing his song, Onadikum. He would sing that, and everybody would love it, and everybody loved Vittorio. And then he was martyred. And because he was like my best mate, I was the one who went into the morgue in Gaza and identified his body. And I gave my brother a kiss on the forehead and said a prayer for him. And it's just so, it was painful. I mourned his death for sure. But part of the reason why I continue to fight to this day is to honor him. I love you, my brother. I love you. And Italy produced one of the greatest warriors for the people of Palestine, and his name is Vittorio Arrigoni. Remember his name and Google him and buy his book, Stay Human. Absolutely beautiful man. God bless you for meeting him or knowing him, brother. And God bless Italy for producing this beautiful man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, engineer, for your question. Thank you, Ken. We'll go next to Zubaida.
Beda. I'm from the UK, founder of Soul of Palestine, a charitable organization that has been providing aid to Gaza since last year. First and foremost, I'd like to say that what you have said has given me a morale boost. We're 2 years into this genocide, and maintaining consistency sometimes fluctuates and people tend to lose morale. And just with the words that you said, the passion that you said, the testimonies that you have given, I think for everybody here, it's definitely given us a boost that we needed, because, we feel helpless, we feel frustrated, and to know that somebody like yourself has made such sacrifices, more than those who claim to be part of the Muslim community, for me is just impeccable. So I just wanted to give you credit for that. A bit of a controversial question, but I don't think that's something that you shy away from.
No, it's not. But let me just say to you, sister, and all of your team, God bless you. You're not alone. Everybody is hurting. There's a lot of demons and spells being cast, and there's so many things affecting people. I'm telling you, I get this across the spectrum, and I felt it too, even though I have a personal. But God bless you and your team for that. And yes, I love controversial questions. Please.
So clearly, you're not a Muslim, so you don't have proximity to the area, right? You're just doing this solely off of a humanitarian issue. What are your thoughts on those, like the Arab nations that are surrounding Gaza, powerful Arab nations like Saudi Arabia, who I like to refer to as treacherous traitors? What are your thoughts? What insight can you give to their part to play? Because I don't believe that things can happen this way if there wasn't an internal enemy, right? You have the external enemy, then you have the traitors from within. So what are your thoughts on their kind of complicity or lack of involvement for the Palestinian people?
First off, I'm going to give you a crazy answer that you will get from no other man on this planet. Because I have studied Islam, and I've also studied Christianity. I was born a Catholic, but I understand the infiltration and subversion of the true Christianity. I understand the difference between real Christians and fake Christians. I understand the evolution of the infiltration and subversion of Christianity, which led to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And I know that he came here to correct the misdirection of Christianity, and specifically what I mean by that is the Trinity. I pray to God. I do not pray to Jesus. I love Jesus. He is the one begotten Son of God. Muslims know that Jesus is King. They also know that as a prophet himself, that he is born of the Virgin Mary. Muslims say that Mother Mary, Miriam, is the highest woman of all. She is the highest. They also recognize that it's not their prophet, it's not Muhammad, peace be upon him, who is going to come back. It is Jesus who is coming back. So you said, I know you're not a Muslim. Let me correct you, sister. And Sheikh Imran Hussein said this many years ago when I said those words. And he said to me, and I understood what he meant. And I say to this audience now, and I will write more details as to why I can say, and correctly so, and defend this position. I am a Christian and I am a Muslim, because neither one of them is in contradiction with the other. The real issue is fake Christians and fake Muslims. So that is the issue that needs to be discussed. So when I answer this question about Islam, I am a Muslim. And I'm a Christian. So the other part of your question, that took a while to answer. Can you just ask the other part again? I will answer it as
beautiful answer. About the kind of treacherous traitors of the other Arab nations. I know you mentioned Gaddafi. I hold the position that whilst that was external, that wouldn't have been able to happen without the traitors from within. So what are your thoughts on, again, the surrounding Arab nations, i.e., let's say Jordan, right next door? They seem to be shooting down Iranian missiles. Egypt, right next door, hasn't been able to do much. Saudi Arabia, again, the hub, hasn't been able to do much, whilst you have kind of countries like Yemen, who's going through a famine themselves, doing something. You've got Lebanon that's doing something. So, what are your thoughts on the kind of treacherous Arab nations?
First off, the one thing that gives me solace is they'll all meet their maker. And I know, although I am not God, real Muslims should not be confused with any of these Arab so-called Muslim traitors. They are fake Muslims. You are fake Muslims. You want real Muslims? Go to Yemen. There you go. There's real Muslims for you. And they're doing the honorable thing. God bless Ansar Allah. God bless Hamas. God bless Islamic Jihad. God bless Hezbollah. God bless Ansar Allah and the Houthis and Yemen. God bless all the real resistance and all the real Muslims and all the real Christians, which answer the call to duty from God to fight and to kill those who serve the synagogue of Satan, as Jesus said themselves. So all of these fake Muslims, they will meet their justice in the next life, but I'm hoping and I'm working for justice in this one, because they do not reflect the real Muslims within Jordan, within Saudi Arabia, within Egypt, within all of these corrupt, podunk, fake Muslim countries. So I see where they're going, and I look forward to them. I wish I could be a fly on the wall when they all meet their maker and get sent straight to hell. I look forward to that. And if I could be there, that'll be another blessing in my life after life. But they are going to meet their justice. That I know for sure. That I know for sure. So shame on them.
Thank you, Brother Kenneth. That's my questions done. God bless you, sir.
God bless you,
Thank
sister.
you. Thank you, Zubaida, and thank you, Ken. We'll go to Holly.
Hey, I'm Holly. I actually am just learning about you for the first time because I'm one of those people who didn't know, but maybe knew prior to October 2023, working through those. My question to you is, as someone who has half their family in the service and half not, I have a clear visual that there are very distinct cultural differences in thinking. And how do you reach those people who have that perception that defending their country means what they've been told? And like, you pop that bubble for yourself, but how do we reach those people who are on the cusp of seeing what's happening? Because I feel like there's a component of it that a lot of our military did what we're watching now. And so coming to terms with all of those things, accepting it, being honest about it, that's a huge hurdle for service members. Do you have any comments on that?
Yes, I do. And the best arguments that you can put forward to such people is, first off, you need to be realistic. Some people are just going to double down on willful ignorance, and they're going to continue to repeat the spouted lies that are indoctrinated into them. And all you can do is pray for them. For the others that are willing to listen to reason, America is currently got an epidemic of homelessness. The veterans have been set aside and they're made into drug addicts, or they're made homeless, or they end up becoming PTSD'd. They commit suicide. All the while, America and its taxpayers are flipping the bill to the Jewish state of Israel, which has universal health care. It has the highest, best economy. Now it's going downhill, but nonetheless, they have everything for free over there. And $10 million a day, it's more than $3.5 billion a year. When you add it all up, James Traficant, a former congressman who was imprisoned and was a real patriot, he talked about it almost 20 years ago. The actual amount of U.S. taxpayer dollars and weapons going to the Jewish state of Israel, which is an affront, and they will spit on you as Christians, go to Israel and preach the gospel. You will be spit on, you will be beaten. So just know that when you get that order to go support the Jewish state of Israel, that you are committing yourself straight to hell by supporting those that Jesus referred to as the synagogue of Satan, who say that Jesus is boiling in hot excrement in hell, according to their holy books known as the Talmud, and that they say that Mother Mary is a whore, and that you, by following the order that in your oath says, according to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, that is an unlawful order to go fight for the Jewish state of Israel in the defense of genocide. You must refuse your order in line with your oath, lest you get yourself a ticket to hell. Stand with Jesus. Stand with your nation. No longer send welfare to the Jewish state of Israel. That is not being a patriot at all. And it's breaking your oath, so help you God.
One more question.
Sure thing. Of course, sister, yes.
So you directly address Jewish people, and I appreciate that because I feel that that is necessary to discuss people, their religion, and what it looks like to me as someone who's not religious. But how do you do that without getting shut down by the noise of being labeled as anti-Semitic? I know you're brave, and I know you don't care what people call you, but it's an invalidator tool. So I'm sure you've been called it 9 million times. So talk to me about how people and generally can sit in that discomfort, accept and know they're not that, but be able to keep talking, because people like me shut down for fear of what we're labeled. So talk about how people like me, normal people, like not normal people, but everyday people, how do they walk through that?
Okay. The power structure as is facilitates treason and the rape of our children. I think enough people in America at this point, they've seen enough with this Epstein charade that's going on. Their mind is now becoming a little more receptive to some possibilities that they would not have pondered 2 years ago. Absolutely not. The genocide, on top of facilitating rape, protecting Jeffrey Epstein and all of the victims, the children that have been raped, it's sort of the bridge too far. It should have been a long time ago, but finally we've reached that point. So there's a couple of things. If Jesus came back today to America, the laws that are being passed would actually incarcerate Jesus himself and put him in prison and call him an anti-Semite. Literally, literally, literally. Jesus said that those who say they are Judeans, but they are not, they are the synagogue of Satan. So, according to the powers of America today, which is a den of thieves and traitors, Jesus himself would be going to prison in favor of the synagogue of Satan. I believe that any self-respecting Christian would have a duty to not submit to such a tyranny and to recognize that Jesus warned us 2,000 years ago. The other thing that I would recommend, sister, is this book right here. A History of Central Banking and the Enslavement of Mankind. Read that book. Get that book. And you will find that the Jewish people, way before Zionism, have been booted out of over 1,000 territories and 100 nations, and it is because of usury, which for any Christian or Muslim is against God, a sin against God. It is inherently the tool used to enslave humanity. It is the